Hi, everybody. I'm Alyce-Kay from Threshold of Hineni and the Widow Reckelhaus. And this week has not turned out to be the way that I thought it would at all. So first of all, I want to apologize because I haven't done the videos that I said I was going to do. And let me just say, those of you who have been watching my channel for a while, you know this, but those of you who are new might not know this. So I shouldn't just like assume that people do know it, is that because of my health and because of just emotional problems that I'm having from having lost my husband 3 years ago today. It's very hard for me sometimes to actually do as much as I think I can. I'm used to doing a lot, and I don't have much energy these days. And yeah, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about that because I feel like I've just like talked about that so much. But just I don't want to say that I'm unreliable, but I'm unreliable. So if I say, and I try to usually make a disclaimer about this, but I didn't this last week, so I feel really bad. These are my plans, but it may or may not happen. And I appreciate, like, I don't think I've had anybody complain about that. I think you guys have all been very understanding and patient, and I appreciate that so very, very much. So this week, yesterday, I didn't do a video at all because I was just really, really not feeling well. And I also I had a doctor appointment. So that just like took everything out of me and stuff. So anyway, so I didn't do a video yesterday, and I haven't done any of the Bible study videos that I've talked about doing. I have instead talked about centering down. And then there was a question about what happens if you get distracted while centering down. So I talked about that and how to keep from getting distracted in prayer. And now someone else has had a question relating to that video, which I think is really, really good. And I'm not sure if I'll cover that tomorrow instead of our chaplet that we usually do, or if I'll save it for next week. But the question was, because I was showing like pictures of Jesus that you could look at while you were praying to help you stay focused, or a crucifix. And the question, very, very good question, was, but doesn't the 10 commandments say that we shouldn't make images? So I do want to deal with that, but I'm not going to deal with that in this video. So this video, I usually only do like one personal update a week, if that much. Sometimes I don't even do that much, but I've had so many people ask me today, and I really, really appreciate everybody asking. It's made me feel so good and so loved and so prayed for and taken care of. But people who know that today is the 3rd anniversary of my husband's death in a car accident, just, asking how I'm doing. I haven't really been on Facebook, although I'm not sure people would notice that because I have scheduled posts that are going up, even though I'm not there or looking at things or anything, and stuff. And so I just haven't felt like getting on there. I haven't felt like talking about it. It's actually, I'm doing pretty well considering. So I just thought that I would make a short video and let you guys know how I'm doing, and also kind of a little update on my health because of my doctor appointment yesterday. And that's going to be it for today. So how I'm doing as far as Bill's death. I've turned a corner, and I think it was like about a month ago. I just remember one day, it was an anniversary of something for Bill and me. I think it may have been like the day that he told me he loved me or something like that. So that would have been June 17th. And I remember being afraid of that day because I was afraid it would make me really depressed. But I looked at pictures of us, I looked at some videos of us and everything, and I was just smiling and enjoying the memories of him. And that's just kind of continued to grow over the past month. And it's just really neat. It's been really good because I think that I'm getting to a new point in my healing. I had been so incredibly depressed, and I would have to say I'm still somewhat depressed, but not anywhere close to how I had been. And it really is, I'd say probably 90% of my thoughts about Bill are happy thoughts, memories and stuff. And even like when I'm talking to him and stuff, it's usually happy stuff. If I cry, it's usually when I'm talking to him. And also this morning, and I know some of you are going to think this is really weird and maybe even wrong, but this morning I woke up with the thought, in all things, be thankful. or in all things give thanks. I think that's how the verse goes. In all things give thanks, or in everything give thanks. And I know that that doesn't mean give thanks for everything, but in those circumstances give thanks. And so the first thing on my heart this morning was thanking God for Bill's and my marriage and our relationship before we were married, and just how incredibly exquisitely good that was, and how much that invested in me and helped me to grow. That was probably the biggest period of growth, personal growth in my whole life, until after he died. When he died, that's been probably the biggest period of growth for me. God's just really had to do a lot of work in my life, but he's done a lot, because I've had a lot of introspection since Bill died, just a lot of time for that. That's kind of what happens when you're depressed, is you just turn inside. And so just really, really pressing into the Lord. So I've grown a lot. But other than that, that 5 years where Bill and I knew each other was the most growth in my life. So I'm very, very grateful for that. But also, and this is what I think is going to sound really, I don't know, controversial or something, I'm thankful that God took Bill. Now, I'm still sad. I miss him terribly, terribly, terribly. And that doesn't mean that I love him less or anything like that. But I have really come to understand and to trust that God had a plan in this. Did God kill my husband? No, I don't think so. But God could have chosen not to have that happen. I've experienced miracles where for a while, it was like every 6 months, there was something that I should have died in, and God kept that from happening. So I know that God could have kept Bill from getting in the accident at all, or from dying, but he chose not to. And he chose that because, not in spite of, but because he loves us, and he did what was best for his glory and for our good. It's easy for me to see how this was for Bill's good, because he's not here for all this horrible stuff that's happening in our world. He's not here. And honestly, I think that he probably would have had a stroke or something and just been miserable, because the stuff that's going on right now would have really made him angry, really angry. He was already getting really angry at stuff that was going on, and it's just been like much, much more than it was then. How his death is good for me is still something I can't see, but I trust God in that. So I'm sorry if that sounds terrible to you. It doesn't mean that I love Bill less. It doesn't mean that I'm not as sad at losing him. I know that a lot of people think that if you really loved somebody, then you should just stay sad for the rest of your life or something. And I don't think that's the case. I don't think most of you think that. But I've heard some people cast doubt on me because oh, you must not have loved him very much because you're already getting over this and stuff. And then other people are like, snap out of it. You can't win. So yeah. So I know he wouldn't have wanted me to just stay sad all the time. And I'm not to the place yet where I can say that I'm not depressed, but I'm getting there. It's really, really improving. And so today has just been kind of, it's not like I've sat and thought about him all day, which is what I've done on the other anniversaries of his death. I've thought of him a lot throughout the day. I expected his urn for his ashes to come today. It's not going to come till Tuesday, so that was kind of disappointing. Not that I would have put his ashes in it anyway. I think I'm going to take it to a funeral home to do. I don't think I really want to do that myself. But just, having his urn come today would have been really special, but that's okay. But yeah, I've just done some different things. I've done quite a bit of writing today. I'm working on another novel. And so I did a good amount on that today. And I don't know, writing just puts me into a whole different world because I'm writing about that world. And so that really helped. I'm on a real romantic part of the book. So that was nice. And I used, June 17th, the anniversary of the first time that he told me that he loved me. I used that as the date for this romantic thing that was happening in the book. So that was kind of fun. It's not going to be a fun book on the whole, you guys. This is going to be it's got some romance, but it's going to be mainly what you would call action adventure probably. So we'll see how I do at writing that. But I think that those of you who have liked the other books are going to really, really love this book too. Anyway, so that's how I'm doing as far as things with Bill. I'm still getting past the grief, but And I'm not sure you ever do from what I've heard. I don't know, but I'm doing a whole lot better. So I know that a lot of you were worried about me, and that's been kind of the inquiries that I've gotten, is people who are worried about me. And so I just wanted to reassure you, that's why I felt like I needed to do this video today. I don't feel like I have the energy to write back to each of you personally. And I'm so sorry, because you took the time to write to me personally. And I really, really appreciate that. But I figured if I did a video and you could see that I'm doing fine and everything, that would help. Okay, so then the other thing that I wanted to talk about was my doctor appointment yesterday. I see a PA, a physician's assistant. I keep saying my doctor because that's just what comes out of my mouth, but he's a physician's assistant. He's wonderful. He's really, really good. He's been very supportive. When I found out that I was diabetic, I said I did not want medicine and that I wanted to handle it a particular way, which I'm not really going to talk about on here because I'm not a doctor or a nutritionist or anything like that. But I did not want to do medicine, at least at first, and probably never. And he was very supportive of that. So I really, really appreciate that. So anyway, I had done pretty well on it. I've worked really hard. A lot of what I've been doing is experimenting to find out, because everybody's body is different. So I've been experimenting within certain guidelines to find out like what works best for me. And so I had brought my blood sugar down quite a bit, but still not completely. And then the last 3 weeks has been super, super stressful with some things that have happened. And so that I can't really talk about, but because of that stress, and stress creates cortisol, cortisol creates insulin resistance. And so my blood sugar went up, everything's gone up. My weight, I gained 7 pounds, you guys. I was eating the same things, eating the same amounts, and I gained 7 pounds. And as soon as the stress got to that point where it was taken care of, the stress isn't gone completely, but the cause of it is, started losing weight. So yeah, so that was kind of a big thing. And so I felt kind of disappointed in that being right before my appointment with my PA, because I felt like it's not going to look like I'm as successful at doing this as I was. And I was really afraid that I was going to get pressured into medication and stuff. And anyway, so I went up there, and I'm going to go back just a little bit. Okay, so at a church that I used to go to when I was life coaching, and I mentioned, I don't remember what we were talking about in Sunday school, but this fit in the subject. And I was mentioning how for a lot of women, and actually this is true of a lot of people, but I think women especially, that we can diet perfectly and not lose weight. And there was a doctor in the class, and he just called me out on it, blah, 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 blah. And I had already been through just like so much trauma from church criticism, just, yeah, really bad criticism pretty much all my adult life. And that was just kind of like, it wasn't as big as all that other stuff, but it was kind of the last straw. And it pushed me to the place where I started having really, really bad panic attacks, to the point where I couldn't go to church for 5 years. I didn't stop going because I was mad or anything like that. I mean, you can change churches or whatever, but I just trying to go to church there or any place else, because it wasn't just about that one particular incident. That was just the small straw that broke the camel's back after all that I had been through. I had like full-blown panic attacks where I felt like I was having a heart attack and I couldn't breathe. And it was just a huge distraction to other people too, as well as just like mortifying to myself. And every time that I think about going back to church, or for a little while, Bill and I went to a church, and then something came out in the sermon that triggered that too. And so I wasn't able to go again. And yeah, so I just have to say, this is probably really bad, but I have to say that this whole thing with finding out the scientific evidence now for what I was saying back then, and also being able to really demonstrate it in my life in this past few weeks, about gaining weight when you're eating the same amount, you're doing the same things. I was probably getting more exercise than before and eating the same things, and gaining 7 pounds, and then starting to lose that easily, not changing anything except for that stress, is very gratifying. Okay, so there's my thing. I know that science hasn't said that for a long time, and science has treated women as if we're the same as men, and we're not. And that's a big part of the problem. But women have been villainized and criticized and made to feel really bad because our bodies don't act the way that men's bodies act. So anyway, I'm so not like into the victim mentality thing that we have going on right now. I'm not saying that at all, but I'm just saying women are different from men, you guys. We are different. And so that's not the point of this video. Anyway, so my doctor appointment, my PA appointment, I guess you'd call it. So I went in and I had seen my labs before that, the day before. And so I knew I had gone from my hemoglobin A1C, which is like a 3 to 6 month picture of your glucose that's in your blood for the last 3 to 6 months. That 3 months ago had been 10.4, which is really, really bad. Okay. So it was down to 7, which is good. I mean, it's still diabetic. It's still definitely diabetic. You want to be like 5.5 or below. It kind of depends on the lab. Every lab has slightly different values because of the way that they do things, but about 5.5 or 5.2 or something. And so I knew I still had ways to go, but I knew I wasn't going to be able to do all that in 3 months. So I was happy with what it was, but kind of disappointed because I thought I could do a little bit better. And I probably would have if it hadn't been for this huge stress in the last 3 or 4 weeks. So anyway, but the nurse was like really negative about it. She was like, well, you're 7.0. And I was like, yeah, but it was 10.4. I was like arguing with her and it made me really feel defensive. And so I was just kind of feeling like, I'm going to fight with the PA when he comes in, even though he's such a good guy. And he came in. Okay. You can see the shadow underneath the door of when your doctor comes in. He stands at the door and he gets your chart and he's looking through it and reading it and everything. Okay. So I could tell he was there reading my chart. He bursts in and he goes, wow, this is so good. I can't believe how well you've done. He goes, I don't think I've ever seen anybody even on medication bring their hemoglobin A1C down so much. And I don't credit myself with that because I'm like learning stuff from other people and from studies and stuff like that. And particularly one doctor that I've been watching videos where he teaches and stuff. So this isn't about me, but it's just, that it can be done. And I told him about that doctor and he looked up one of his videos while I was there, and hopefully he'll be watching this because he was just like so excited. And he's like, you really need to give yourself a pat on the back. And he was just like, yeah, I'm so supportive of what you're doing. This is so great. So that was really, really wonderful. And then he sat there with me and we went through my labs, and there were a few things on my labs that were not in the normal range that I was a little worried about. A couple of them were things that I didn't know what they were. And so he explained those to me and he explained, no, this is all really good and stuff. So my labs look good and everything looks good and I'm still feeling really horrible. So yeah, so we still don't really know what it is. We talked about long COVID, and basically, these aren't exactly his words, but basically what he said was long COVID is like a basket that we put people in when they have a whole bunch of symptoms that we can't explain and they had COVID in the past, so we're going to blame it on COVID. And he said, yeah, there's an awful lot of that going around right now. So, but we don't really know, what it is. And we're going to be guinea pigs for years to come while they're trying to figure things out. So don't have the exact like diagnosis of long COVID. And so I think that's basically, if you're going to put it in a basket, I go in that basket. But again, like he and I talked about, and like I already knew, because there's like so many different symptoms that make up long COVID, there's not like a treatment for it or anything. It's not a real diagnosis. It's just like, oh, we don't know what this is and you had COVID, so let's call it that. Let's blame it on COVID. So yeah, so I don't really know what to do. So I have some things I'm going to be trying. I'm not going to share them right now. I probably won't even share exactly what they are if they work, because again, I don't want to get in trouble because I'm not a doctor or something. but we'll see. We'll see if the things that I'm going to work on with some other people's help, if that will help me to get better or not. So, and I also, I guess I shouldn't say who this is either because I don't want to get them in trouble, but I talked to somebody yesterday about how to like scientifically chart things and everything so that if what I try on myself is successful. I mean, that doesn't prove anything, but it might be something that other people in the scientific community might be interested in. Oh my gosh, that sounds so weird. But it's just like, yeah, okay, if I can do something that works, then I want to have the data to be able to give to somebody. Not that they'll necessarily listen to it or use it, but they can if they want to. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, that sounded really weird. But so I have to tell a story from when I was a kid, because that kind of goes back to this whole thing. I love to chart things, and I love, love, love graphs. Okay, especially bar graphs. Those are my favorite. But when I was a kid, and I look back at this now and I think, God bless my mom. And I know now that this is probably from my autism, but we didn't know that at the time. I did all these experiments when I was like first through third grade. And I loved doing experiments. I love to grow mold in different parts of the house and in different conditions, like in the refrigerator and in a place that was really warm in the house and in the dark cupboard, and just all, and you know, like, would mold grow better on a wet sponge or on a piece of bread or on a piece of cheese and all these other things. So I had mold growing all over the house, and my mom let me do that. That's what I mean. God bless you, Mom, for doing that, because I don't think most moms would. And I also, you know, like, grew different things like sweet potato vines in different conditions and stuff. Nobody took the time to show, nobody probably knew what I was doing. So, but I didn't have anybody show me how to make those into valid scientific experiments and stuff, which would have been really cool to learn, like the scientific method and how to chart things and everything. And so, yeah, so, I mean, I always had an interest in science, but and I still have an interest in science, but it's very, very amateur. So I was talking to somebody yesterday who is a professional scientist to find out from them, like, okay, how do I chart this? How do I make it into a valid experiment, even though there's only one subject, and that's myself? How do I get rid of other, what's it called, other factors and stuff? How do I make it so that I know it's this particular thing that's making the difference and not like something else that I'm not considering? So we talked about that a lot, and how to chart that and everything. So I'm really looking forward to it. And it may only do me good and nobody else. You know, I don't have these dreams of some great scientific breakthrough because of what I'm doing or anything, but I just figure I'll keep the charts just in case it could help somebody. We'll see. If not, it helps me. So now that you guys all think I'm like totally a weirdo, that's fine. But I just gave you a big insight into how I am, because I have always charted everything. I mean, I love charts. I love being able to check things off. I love being able to figure out the percentages of stuff and everything like that. So yeah, so that's me. I'm just weird. But let me know if you're like that too, because there's got to be other people who are just as weird as me. Anyway, so I'm smiling, I'm laughing. It's 3 months, it's 3 years since Bill died, and you wouldn't have seen this from me last year. You wouldn't have seen this from me 2 months ago. So I really do think that things are changing. I feel like I've turned a corner. So anyway, that's good. Thank you so much for praying. Please don't stop praying. I guess that's the thing that scares me, you guys, about telling you that I'm doing better, is that I'm afraid people will stop praying for me. So please, if you've been praying for me, please reassure me that you'll keep praying for me, because if you don't, then I may not do as well. And I don't mean that in a superstitious way, but I really, really need your prayers. God answers prayers, and I really appreciate that. Okay, so I think I'm just like kind of like going down rabbit trails now. So I'm going to go ahead and stop and say goodbye. And I love you all, and I'll see you tomorrow, hopefully. But remember, I'm always just saying what I'm hoping to do. I can't make promises right now. Okay, I love you all. Pray for each other, okay? Bye-bye.